All right, next up we have Mark, Don, and Ray are going to give us some case studies.
What we're intending to do in this last section is go through a number of instances where myself, Don, and Ray have been involved in designs in New England, and some difficulties we've encountered, and show you some things that we think might have been done right, might have been done wrong. And as we go through each of these cases, feel free to stop us and we can talk about them. Yeah. So the grouping for these, the first category we're going to talk about are when we discover underground obstructions underneath the sidewalk and it affects the ramps. In a number of these cases, you'll see that these difficulties multiply in urban situations and in corners of urban streets. There's a lot of constraints. There's a situation with a bus stop, another situation with nearby constraints, and then a section we call rapid fire, where we're just going to go through a whole bunch of different curb ramps and spend a few minutes on them. And then I did want to talk a little bit more about what we're doing in with MassDOT about the curb ramps there. So the first one up is in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, actually, and we've got a side road, and the curb ramp in question is this one right there, and there was discovered during construction a communications fault right there. There's a pole, it's hard to see, I understand, but there's communications fault. So looking from the side road up the ramp, this is what it looks like. So the vault's here, pole's here, and with the constraints of the pole and the vault, we actually were proposing the sidewalk to be 2 feet lower than what we discovered the vault to be. So we had 20 feet of distance from that vault to where the edge of the road is. So this is the proposed sidewalk highlighted in the yellow or in the white. The originally proposed edge of pavement line is very difficult to see, but it's right there. We were going to get a 10% longitudinal grade. We ended up working things out and relocated the edge of pavement line to shift the side road to make a longer curb ramp to get that 8.3% grade that we needed for the slope of the ramp. But this is a difficulty we've encountered a number of different places. You're going to see some other instances of do the best you can, try to figure out what is under the ground during design, but sometimes things are discovered during construction. It's surprising.
Do we have a 2-foot drop off from your sidewalk, you're saying?
Yeah, so I wasn't clear about that. What I was just saying is our design for the sidewalk was for it to be 2 feet lower here.
Right, so now you have a 2-foot curb appeal, is what you're saying?
Not anymore. No, since the vault was discovered, the sidewalk is at the elevation of the vault. And it was lengthened by shifting the side road to get the 8.33%.
Mark, is there an esplanade in that area?
There is an esplanade. Yeah, you got the poles in the esplanade.
And that's where you can make up that.
Exactly.
That grade change.
Yep. Okay. Next. Got Portland, Don.
Yeah, I heard some drones. I had some drones when we worked on this project. So we're in Portland. We're on Congress Street. Very funky looking ADA ramp there, huh? So another photo here. You see a pedestrian walking by. You can see how wide the sidewalk is across the street. A little bump out here, but it's a pretty wide sidewalk. And then if you flip on this side, again, you see how wide the sidewalk is here. So we got this project. We're actually doing a metro project. It was a joint city of Portland and Metro. We're doing some new bus shelters, but we're doing ADA improvements along Congress Street as well. This was an intersection identified. Let's do some ADA improvements here. So looking at it on the surface, we said, okay, well, we probably need a ramp right in this area. Maybe eliminate that. We'll put a crosswalk right in here. Seems pretty straightforward. Not sure why they haven't done that before. Let's dig into it. Well, when we started to dig into it, we found that this building here had a foundation that extended underneath it. And it was maybe a foot below. More than likely not even. So this was this way for a reason. Somebody else had already investigated it and came up with this solution. Long story short, we did not change this design. We kept it the way it was. We made sure that we had ADA compliance over here. Now, these were before the days of the latest standards. This project is a couple years old. This is, it wasn't related to DOT. We chose to keep this. We do have this hazard here, this vertical curve. There's a bollard here. Yeah, there's that drop off. So one thing we did propose to do is to eliminate the bollard and put in a planter box here. So we create basically a blockage so somebody couldn't accidentally trip over this curve area. These are things that you run into on projects, right? You get in an urban environment, they're challenging, so they're not necessarily like the details show. And so you got to work with your client, with the department on the solutions, work with Teresa. I'm not sure I've got the interesting thing here is the pedestrians, the non-disabled pedestrians will probably walk right over the curb, right? And folks that are handicapped in wheelchairs that will use this location here. So goes back to Teresa's comment back in the day with the visually impaired. They use that curve as their identification where they are now transitioning into a vehicle area, which is kind of what the truncated domes serve as now. But a lot of the pedestrians, maybe you just might find them walking straight across. When we showed this graphic yesterday, there was discussion about the striping of the crosswalk. Should it be any different? Because a lot of the pedestrians are probably walking directly here, not necessarily where the striped crosswalk is. Good news is, regardless, they're still behind or in front of the stop line, which is great. Questions, comments on that example? All right, next location we're looking at, again, we're in Portland, is Congress Ave. This is a DOT project. This was a signal replacement project. We have a signal system here, as well as several others along Congress Street. And as required, when we do signal upgrades, we got to look at ADA improvements. And so we're going to be kind of looking at these two corners here. So this is the first corner. This is the existing condition. You can kind of see it's pretty steep. Teresa mentioned, the old style of what they might have had for identifying ramps. What jumps out to me here is, look at this, the handrail on the building. Gives you a sense that we might have some steep grades going on there. So we had challenges in terms of what the cross slopes are, how steep this is. It's a shared landing, so we have two crosswalks here. I think in a future condition we may have eliminated that, moved it out, but we'll see that next graphic. So again, how do you make that work? Right up against the building. You got a doorway here. So this graphic, we did keep the shared landing. Part of the solution, we basically created a 4x4 level landing area there with a ramp up, another ramp up here. So there's your terminal curve. There would be a terminal curve. How did we deal with the building? We actually put curbing, granite curbing along the backside of our sidewalk area, right up against the building foundation. That allowed us to lower the grade of the sidewalk without impacting what they may have for a foundation. So in the case of this building here, it appears, you probably have a pretty solid foundation, probably concrete, maybe granite. But you get cases where you have brick foundation. So lowering reveal against those types of foundations, who knows what you're going to get into. And the last thing you want to do is create a drainage problem into some of these foundations. So that was our solution, somewhat unique. We're actually seeing that used quite a bit in the city area where we have challenges with grades. So questions, comments on that? We also did it on the other side of the corner. I didn't really talk much about this guy, but we had a similar situation on the opposite side.
How are you conveying the grading to avoid drainage issues?
Yeah, so we actually, to avoid drainage issues.
Yeah. For that level landing, for water to be trapped there.
Yeah, we did call out grades along the curb reveal of the building in terms of what we expected the grades to be along the top and the bottom. So we called that out to the contractor. We didn't necessarily have any spot grades here, but you'll see some examples that we present where you may need to call out some grades to make sure it's built properly. The intent here was that the drainage would not get caught even before we got out of we did have some grades here, but this is a project we designed several years ago. Standards have changed. We're doing projects in Portland right now where they actually are hiring us to do all, so it's not an apartments project, but they're asking us to do all grades. They want everything done, all the ramps are done in concrete, and they want a grade for every corner here. They want a grade, they want slope surface. So they want to be very clear and precise to the contractor how this thing should be built. It was interesting, we actually designed it kind of following the old method where we don't call out the grades, and the client said, because of the issues we've had this year with Teresa on some of their other projects where they built some of these ramps, Teresa said, they're non-compliant, rip them up and rebuild them. They said, time out, let's see if we can get in front of them. So they hired us to say, we've done these, but redo them with grades and slopes. As we did them, we can see why the contractor struggled with it, because they're complicated. And we did have to change some of our ramp design once we started throwing grades on it and elevation. So right now, the department's position is they're not asking us to do that. Today may come special projects where you may have to look at that. These confined areas are definitely projects that are candidates for that. Any other questions? Okay. Ray is up next.
All right, gang, this is a LAP project for the city of Lewiston, and this pure scope of work here was just signal improvements and ADA upgrades. And so, focus was minimizing the ramp work, but while trying to bring it up to compliance. Now, similar to Don's examples, these were dated by 3 or 4 years, and so obviously the standard details have changed. What I'm keying on a couple of examples here are these blended transitions, so here and actually here, because buildings are really close to the back of sidewalk, right up against the back of sidewalk. In these instances, the sidewalk actually is wider than probably most municipalities, but still putting a parallel ramp or even a perpendicular ramp became very challenging. And so we were looking at a blended because it allows that 5% and essentially the car can go right through the ramp and the level landing. And so it provides the benefit. I mean, as you see, this gentleman's actually on the door stoop of a commercial business, and the radius for the gentleman's putting the detectables in, that whole area is graded at essentially 5%. The benefit here is we can still maintain enforcement 2%, but we wouldn't have been able to get the level landing at the bottom to be 2% and make all the grades work. Because the focus here was don't change this grade, essentially back a sidewalk at the building foundation, because we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. And so we started essentially backwards in to make sure we weren't changing any of those grades at the back of sidewalk. And so obviously very challenged in these urban settings where you don't want to impact, the abutting building or how the access is. That's kind of the rule of thumb is if you don't make it worse, or the project purpose is don't change the condition or make it any worse than it is today. And so that was the focus, is make it better while providing the same access to the abutter as we currently do. And so that was how we accomplished this one. And as you can see in the plan view, really, really wide crosswalks, certainly, but still the sidewalk was still narrow enough that we weren't able to get a perpendicular to work and have the grades be compliant, the level landing areas work. Any questions on this one? So as Marcel alluded to, these blendeds are probably a last resort. Certainly want to work through the other standard details, options 1, 2, or 3 first, but you can see that there's a situation where these blendeds may work well. The other thing to take note of is the detectables. We've done quite a bit of research to try to make the radius be one of the prefabricated radii that come from the general manufacturer so that it fit really well to that corner. So similar intersections, different within the same project, different intersection. Keying in on this one up here, top right, just to give again another context of what that blended could look like. Again, a budding parcel, door stoop on the back of sidewalk. So challenging circumstances, very wide sidewalk in this instance, but on the back side, essentially on the right-hand side of the screen, it narrows up. So how do we get a side? Limiting the scope of work, meaning don't chase the sidewalk a long way so that we have a sidewalk improvement project, but just an ADA upgrade at the corners where we're doing signal upgrades. This was the compromise to make something work with the constraint created at the corner.
I don't have a problem with this. I mean, I don't know if the research is out, if there's ever been a lawsuit about it, but where it's going a full length and it hit, you know, there aren't gaps. You don't want people walking through them. And I think, I don't have a problem. In Lewiston, they use it quite a bit. As long as they aren't placing them not together, because it's together here, it's not.
Right,
You
so
know.
one end of it butted
Yeah.
up against each other, the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
So, the inspectors, the world, something
Yeah.
to be aware of.
Yeah.
They know cutting them, the contractor's not really big on trying to cut them, yeah.
Wait, okay,
I know it for her, they actually use it. Yes, they do it. But maybe not as large as this one too, but that's the thing with blended transition. They use the plastic ones a lot, those are big in inner cities.
Yeah, they obviously come a very prescribed radii, so it depends, and that's maybe a good point backing up. This is kind of the balance between the bid book approach and a full reconstruction example. This was just done over aerial photography, no survey. There was certainly a field walk done during design, laying smart levels on every corner to see what existing conditions were. But we still tried to provide some information on the plan view to give concept of what the solution was going to look like and vet what the condition was. This still was just before the days of the department having the technical and feasibility form and allowing the 15-foot, I'll say, upper threshold on the length of the transition. And so we thought this was a decent balance to how to present the concepts of what we're trying to achieve.
This is an example from Lynn, Massachusetts, on the North Shore of Boston. There's an existing bus stop right there. This is a signalized intersection. And what we've experienced through Massachusetts DOT is they have programs in each of their districts to reconstruct curb ramps, a couple hundred at a time at different intersections. So this is one of the curb ramps as part of that program. And this is a zoom in on that plan that you saw earlier that Atlee was showing. So this is the level of detail that we're doing in Massachusetts. And you can see that each length is identified, each point is identified, and highlighted in red some characteristics of the design. So just to go back real quick, same orientation. This is a big hill. Going down the hill, there's the fire hydrant. You can see the fire hydrant being right there. So working with MassDOT, the idea is they did want the ramps separated, and they wanted those APS, the pedestrian signal buttons, separated by that 10 feet at least. And what we did is the bus lighting area is right over here. And Massachusetts does use the 1.5% instead of 2% to try to allow for a variation in construction in case it's not constructed right to the 1.5%. There was a 10% ramp here needed with a curb to go down to this level area, and then there's actually a 4.5% down to this other level area, and one pedestrian signal over here, another pedestrian signal with the button over there. And you can see the layout or the right-of-way line is quite close to work within that, and quite a bit of work also needed in the roadway. What we do on these projects, LiDAR is gathered for these projects to get every point possible that we would need, and we do need them. That's what I have on this one. There's a lot of constraints there. Any questions, comments, thoughts? One of the things that is difficult was brought up before is that when you put that other ramp behind here at the fire hydrant, you're pulling the stop bar back quite a bit. Because it's a signal, it's not an issue for stopping sight distance, but it would take a parking space away, and it's not exactly the way you want to walk across the road either. You kind of want to cross over there. But what we've also encountered is there's room for preferences and interpretation in the ADA rules, especially, and each district in Massachusetts seems to have their own preference for things, and they have a strong preference to separate the ramps.
So that split part of that ramp,
Yes.
over on that side, kind of, from right of the page to the left of the page?
Yeah.
You have a 10% needs variance?
Yes.
What is the part closest to the road? That's
That's a curb there.
normal
This is higher.
out at the street,
Yes,
and that's all flat,
yeah,
but normal sidewalk level, and the ramp's kind of in the back.
correct, yep.
And why was it, what was the purpose of that?
The purpose was just because this has a curb reveal here, there's a curb reveal there, and you had to get down to this level area at the elevation of the street. So somehow you had to get down, but why didn't the whole thing go down?
Yeah, well,
Keep
they make the whole thing a ramp?
keep the curb reveal up higher,
Okay.
because the bus stop is there too, and trying to keep a larger area, people away.
You also have to meet the bus stop ramp, a lot of times they go over curb, to drop down on the street, so they're coming.
Yeah,
Did you guys consider, instead of the 2 push buttons, having the pedestrian phase on recall for one of the side streets and just go with the green at all, or did they not want to do that?
I wasn't the designer for this project, to be honest. I don't know, but I think, from what I understand from the designer, is that a lot of this is really strongly preference driven.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of ways to do it, sure.
So all your reference numbers on there, that's what was in that plane you showed me.
Correct.
You showed me
Yep.
before, so you go into that table, and all of those are in that table.
Yeah, exactly. Everything here is modeled in Civil 3D, and it's expensive and difficult to produce, but it takes a while.
How many changes were there when they built it?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to it. Good question.
0.
I will ask. All right, here's another one. Yeah.
On, like putting a rail or anything for like wheelchairs?
For right here,
Yeah, or at the end of the ramp, at the end of that section,
down here.
to the left, yeah, so that flat spot adjacent to the road.
Like right here, maybe where the curb reveal
Right.
is higher? That's a good question. I don't know the answer.
Or is it kind of back to the old school where the wheelchair could just go off the
Ramp, so, even for somebody who needs to walk down that ramp,
Yeah,
visually impaired.
good question. All right, although we hear different things each time we do this. There is another constraint. This is in Revere, Massachusetts. So this is pretty tight, as you can see. There's a driveway down into an overhang under the house. There's a downspout coming out. There's an entrance there, so it's critical to keep the water out of there. And this is a hill going down, I believe it's at 9%. And this is a zoom in on what we did for the detail. So just to help you understand what's going on, this over here is back there, and then it's curving around. So this connects to up there. It's just rotated to fit on the page. What we did was, this is actually there's the fence, which is outside what's called the state highway layout, which is the right-of-way line. So we decided not to mess with that and come down to a level area to the crossing. And then, interestingly enough, it goes down 7.5% to another landing area, and then down 9%. The reason, here's another instance of designer interpretation, but Massachusetts DOT understood that this was the ramp from the level area, and they require a level area on both sides of a ramp, so that there was a ramp at the top of that ramp, and then a level area at the top of the ramp and a level area at the bottom of the ramp, before then you went down 9% again. 9% matching the side road profile. That's how that one shook out. But it's,
Does that 9% go across the driveway?
it does, actually. It's not desirable, but, there's that's the end of the building right there, so that's the driveway going in. All right. This is an instance where, again, in Massachusetts, we have a sidewalk going right along the fence, and in this instance, the layout, the state highway layout line, which is the right-of-way line, was going through the existing sidewalk, and instead of taking the extra right-of-way, they determined that they wanted the sidewalk to stay out of the right-of-way. And so the existing sidewalk is in the gray, as you can see there, the proposed is in the dark. So what that means is now the sidewalk is coming out into the intersections and more. That's how that was handled. It's certainly going to make turning more difficult and truck movement more difficult. But they didn't want to mess with the right-of-way.
Is there a truck template on that or anything? Does the client require that?
Good question, I don't know the answer to it. I hope so.
No, it's
kind of small. This is back to the small street.
Small street. Wow. Outside of the right of way, you can't touch it.
Both sides of the sexual warning,
Oh, yeah. The trees say you just curve right here, curve right there. It's kind of an interesting thing.
so the level landing is that.
Sucks more than off. That's cute.
Right.
A lot of murmuring going on. What are you guys talking about? All right.
What would not happen?
This is in Manchester, New Hampshire. I just happened to be out, and you got the great puddle of the curb ramp. Seen several of those. All right, now we got Don. He's gonna.
Yeah, I want to go back to Mark's previous slide, just one commentary on this guy here. At least with the state of Maine, we have this thing called raw portion. So if a sidewalk is on private property and been used for a period of time, I think it's maybe 20 years for public use. I think MaineDOT's position is they have the right to keep the sidewalk on private way. They may formalize it through the right-of-way process, but there may be, maybe there's no compensation for that one, I don't know the details.
Typically, it's maintained over 20 years. So
Okay.
if it's a sidewalk that still looks as good as that one does, we have a very good argument that that's been maintained. If we have a sidewalk that's been, has no reveal left because it's been overlaid 12 times and it's basically become gravel where it used to be a paved sidewalk, we have a little harder time saying, yeah, that's a maintained sidewalk, we should, we have to be a little bit careful when we use that term.
So if you happen to run into something like that during construction, definitely speak with the department before speaking any decision.
So on that picture, I have a question for Teresa. Teresa said we can use technical and feasibility because of drainage. If the side road forces a puddle and the scope of the project, whichever project went through, didn't allow us to fix the side road and we end up with a puddle, is that drainage for technical feasibility or is that, what is that?
If you have to get it, if you have to go to 2% and it's not, and it's leaving you with a drainage problem, you can lift it up to get the drainage.
Oh, so we should fix the drainage,
Right,
then
you
use
should fix the
technical
drainage,
feasibility.
and it might not be compliant.
Okay,
You
so
don't want, and I put ice rinks on your server.
So you fix the drainage, you may not comply with slopes,
Right.
but you're fixing the drainage problem.
fix the drainage, then use technical and feasibility because you went outside your slopes.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so rapid fire, hopefully it'll be interactive. Looking at photos, project photos, I think they're all been constructed, most are in Maine. We're kind of looking at what looks good with these photos, what doesn't look so good. It helps designers and inspectors. So first one I'll jump to is this guy here. Anything jump out at you guys that may be good or not so good?
Doesn't cover the whole opening.
Bingo. There's a gap here and a gap here. This detectable warning field should have gone to the limit of the curbing minus the apron, the 4-inch or 6-inch concrete apron that's around it. So that basically the concrete should have been extended up to those limits. You see it here as well. And Teresa, I think, made a comment yesterday that this one here is a candidate for people missing it. People that are visually impaired may be able to sneak through and not even hit the panels.
Yeah, actually, that one, that's what I see, but, one of the, I don't have as much concern with that one, I was saying, because it's got edging on each side of it.
Okay.
And so they can feel that edging with their cane, they're gonna hit the detectable warning more than likely. That's pretty good, because of the edging, but yeah, it could be better.
The grade of this one was mentioned. Looks a little steeper than what it should
Yeah.
be. It may have been designed instead of a landing, it may have been designed as a running slope of 8%, but if you're doing that, you make sure we've got a landing.
Well, the landing's up top, but it looks more than 8%, but it might not be, it's hard to tell.
This guy here, you jump out at us, I see that, other than that, it's straight instead of along the radius, but we could do that, so. Everybody good?
Quick question.
Sure.
So that's what I was talking about before, is essentially when you have a 2x2, so City of Portland does it a lot where they have the caps in place, and they only have 4 inches on each side and it's 2x2, so there's 2 inches on each side. Is it okay to have concrete for 6 inches, or are you?
You show the curve where the curving comes down.
Yeah.
We did 2x2s for years as well,
Yeah.
and that's where we're getting a lot of those non-compliant. They're learning too, that they need to either bring it in
Yeah.
or make sure it goes forward.
Well, I'm wondering, so you're saying you can extend the concrete though?
No.
No.
The detail says 4 inches.
4 inches. No, but you can extend the curving down and, close in the opening.
We'll have some other slides that actually talk about the camping itself, so we'll get into that a little later. Here's an example, it's a bridge project, MaineDOT, we're up in Guilford, it was a bridge rehab, Becker was the designer, and it was approach work. So here we go, here's an example, we got some steps. I don't think we've talked about that today. How do we deal with steps?
Don't know.
Exactly, how do we deal? So, the philosophy we follow, if this is private property, the philosophy we follow is it's not ADA accessible right now, it's not our responsibility to make it ADA accessible, but we cannot make it worse. So we need to match the condition or better the condition, can't make it worse. But it doesn't mean that we need to make this ADA accessible. Teresa?
But if you're doing a reconstruction, like in Hallowell, the agency works with the business owners to try to get as many compliant as possible. But ADA says you just can't make it work, so if you don't have 6 private property projects.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, so in that case, the steps extend in front of the building, if the property line is the front of the building, and the steps extend into the right of way, then are we then responsible for the steps, even though they've been used and maintained by?
Yeah, under that situation, our goal, and I think Ray had mentioned it in his design, our goal would have been to blend and match the reveal at the back sidewalk, not change that. So if steps are on the private property, we don't want to be impacted from that. So I would try to design our sidewalk where we hold the grade at the right of way or at the building edge, and try to design inward into your road, adjusting curb reveal. Sometimes you can play with your curb reveal and reduce it to accommodate. You may have to adjust your roadway grade as well.
And
Shoulder slopes, you might be able to play with this other.
And it's good example in Wisconsin, if you look at the new Wisconsin, they build up to the stores and build put a retaining wall in there and make the retaining down, so they allow that for those. That was a real stream.
All right, now we're up in, I believe it's Holton, it was a multi-DOT, multimodal project, signal replacement work, but it included ADA, so we're kind of looking at the ADA area, so, anything jump out at you guys on this guy, on these panels?
Like they should be forward
Bingo.
by about 5 inches.
You got it, they're too far back, they really should be up flush with the curve. So this, in this case, like, some municipalities like flush granite curving, City of Portland one. In this case here, that's what they had in the existing condition, but that concrete should be kind of right up to it, smooth panels close to the gutter line if possible. This is, again, an example of doing with pavement on your ramp, so, you may have some grade cross slope issues here, I'm not sure that's quite 2%.
Yeah.
Kind of feels a little steeper. So this is a signal, so we've got our pedestrian push buttons for our crossings. Location of where these are oriented, the sign and the buttons. Ideally, those are aligned with the crossing, maybe that one is, but also reach for somebody to get to that's in a wheelchair, can they easily get access to it. Somebody mentioned 10 inches is their reach. So,
I'll look into that, I wanna, I say 10, but I think it needs.
it looks like that's right at the bottom of the ramp, you know, could have split it in another foot or so, maybe make it a little closer, a little easier to the landing area. Yes.
And the flush mounted curve is fine to leave? The flush mounted curve is fine to leave if it's flush.
I think that's no different, that half-inch tolerance that you had mentioned in earlier in the presentation.
Those will become, non-compliant after. Project I was on, so, yeah, as long as it's flush.
All right, now we're down in Portland, I think this is Bedford Street at the USM campus. This project was basically a metro bus stop. This is the main hub connecting the Portland campus to the Gorham campus. And so the work included basically the shelters themselves, as well as a bus stop here. This was designed for 2 buses to stop at the same time, and basically building a place for them to exit as well as sidewalk. We did this project without any survey. It was the bid book job. And we actually had a pretty good contractor. He got out there, he started checking grades, and he said, your design is not going to work. Our design was mimicking what you have up here, which would be an esplanade in here, and the sidewalk was back here with access to where the buses were stopping. And he could not get the grades to work. So we worked with the client as well as the contractor, suggested moving the sidewalk right up against the road, and then we had the ability to play with our grades in the esplanade behind the sidewalk before we tied into a parking lot. The other thing worth noting here is this whole area is not quote-unquote ADA compliant, 2% in all grades. It doesn't have that, but we needed to provide a ADA compliant access to the shelters. So while there's a sea of concrete here, not all of it is exactly at ADA compliant, but we have a pathway, an ADA acceptable pathway to get there. So if the DOJ ever came and started measuring things, we should be able to show them here is the ADA acceptable.
Why do you use HNTB around the little shelters? No, why isn't that all concrete?
Cost.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a little HMA lip right next to the detectable warning in the road there?
Yes, right here.
Yeah.
So this is, this project we're talking about, the city was in the midst of a sewer separation project. So they basically were ripping up the entire road. And this was the binder pavement. We hadn't placed the surface yet, although maybe harder to see here, but there should be a little lip. And I think Teresa mentioned that temporary ramp is what it is. So they
And you wanna have those too, I know you know that, but if you don't put those in and you haven't done the final paving, you don't want people tripping over those. Take care.
All right, we're heading down to Kittery now. This is the Kittery traffic circle. This was a multimodal project. It was a pedestrian improvement, basically pedestrian bicycle improvements as well as vehicle safety improvements. The roundabout, geometrically, the roundabout pretty much stayed the same. I'd say actually it's a circle, it's very wide, it's not a roundabout. But all the approaches and departures for vehicles were modified to better mimic a roundabout to control speed with geometry. And then we built a multi-use path around the entire perimeter. I think it was an 8-foot wide path to service both bicycle and pedestrians. So we got into a lot of unique ADA situations. So anything, so this is an example of basically a refuge island, at grade with the roadway. So we've got this whole curving around it. We didn't bring it up and back down. I don't think we had the distance to do it. So we kept everything low. Anything good or bad about what you guys see there? Yeah, I mean, we have this gap here, and we talked about this. So ideally, you go curb to curb, but in this case here with the tight radiuses, we feel it's acceptable if you just hold whatever that line is and extend it to the intersection. It'd be pretty much next to impossible to ask a contractor to give you detectable warning field in that little corner area. Grading wise, you want to make sure, I think Teresa mentioned 2% in this area, and you don't want drainage to be ponding in here, so you want to pitch to the roadway. That's critical in this situation. Here's a good example of the detectable warning field going right to the grass line or the your concrete more pictures on this same project. So with roundabouts, a lot of them will have truck aprons, so allow for larger trucks to overhang off the road. Those are typically with some type of slope curbing and concrete. So here's a situation where we have a pedestrian crossing through a truck apron. I don't know if you're gonna find any guidance, any manual on how to do that. So this was, at least it was, we were challenged in finding how to figure that out. So we talked about, do we put the detector warning field there? Do we put it up here where the pedestrian's gonna be? We ultimately said it's better here. We don't want them standing, having a truck run them over.
Perfect.
Good choice.
Thank you. But the other thing we need to figure out too is grade. So, do we keep this high and then slope it down here? Do we bring everything down? So we decided that we should be at grade all the way to here and this ramps up here. So your truck apron has a little dip in it, for that pedestrian crosswalk. We didn't stripe it in this area. We probably could have, I guess.
The plow guy show me a house, or? No, he's fine. Tough decisions though, right? I mean, obviously, that's what you're trying to show is,
Yeah.
what do you do?
You're gonna run into unique situations, that's what we're trying to present, for both designers and the inspectors, because I know you guys run into it a lot, so. This is another picture of the same project, I guess, is there anything else there that jumps out at you that seems a little odd from a pedestrian standpoint?
Yeah, truncated domes being way up the ramp at the top, rather than down below. And I can't tell on the other side, is that part of the cross?
Driveway here.
Oh, it's a driveway, okay.
So this is what we want to talk about. So this is,
Yeah.
I mentioned this is it's a vehicle safety project, pedestrian, bicycle safety project. So this does not relate to pedestrians. There's no sidewalk here. So this is related to bikes.
Oh.
This is a bike lane. So what we did, back on this corner, as you come into the roundabout, we have all the bikes exit the roundabout. We basically have a path, we have a wide shoulder on approach, and we have striping and sign that says you need to exit, go up on the multi-use path, get out of the road. Then we reduce the shoulder width. They have a choice. The experienced bikers can stay in the roundabout and share the roundabout with vehicles if they want. Majority of people will have. So this is on the departing side. So here is a shared use path for pedestrians and bikes. Pedestrians will continue this way. I believe there might be a sidewalk over here. The bicyclists will exit this way if they want to go down this road. So you can see we have no shoulder here. We have the dotted line, and then we have a shoulder width for bikes. So this is in there for bicycles to notify them they're entering the roadway.
Is there signage directing pedestrians to use the sidewalk to say, turn left?
I don't think so.
Maybe there should be.
But you have the crosswalk sign.
Yeah, there's some pretty massive signs here. So this led, when we presented this slide to the departments who were preparing for this led to a lot of discussion internally, because there are new roundabout projects that have bicycle facilities where the department is not putting these in. So we had to provide the department some backup as to why we did that, which we did. There's a federal document out there that recommends this. But this will be on a case-by-case basis. So the word out there, if you're designing a roundabout or constructing a roundabout, work with the department on what should be done. It seems odd to you, because that's what jumps out at everybody. Why is that at that location and what purpose?
So that was optional, that second set of, warning fields?
This was put in, so with any of these types of projects, the department historically would have a third-party peer reviewer. So we had another consultant, national consultant, do the project. That was their recommendation for us. So we ended up putting that in on that, for that.
There's not a concern of sending someone with sight issues into their roadway, if they find that warning panel, they think it's a safe crossing area?
Probably the mayor concerned that there isn't something there that's telling them that they're about to walk in.
Yeah, I guess it is, you get away with what to do there.
Something like a rumble strip across there would be an indication for a bicyclist, and it would not hit it for impaired.
One of the questions that I have is, how do you channel the pedestrians with visually impaired into that? Because they can't see the sign. But what this does is it does at least stop them, I guess, so that was the, because that's pretty
of these in
Yeah.
text form, they could end up stopping on that shoulder right there, right where, this Tiger Ace was turning. I mean, they're not sure where they are, which side of the detectable warning they're on.
Yeah.
We kind of have trouble with roundabouts in general.
In general, yeah, and a lot of times, unless it's heavily signalized, the mobility specialists that take them around may channel them away from it. And they'll go through that with the people who are learning these things, but not every person with visual impairment has a mobility specialist helping them through it.
I would think we'd want those more up like that one is, so that at least they were out of the shoulder, if they did have to stop, not knowing which direction they're.
Not right on them, yeah.
Exactly, the more you keep them crowded right into the shoulder, they're more apt to be out in the road.
Well, with the one on the right, there's nothing to navigate them to that dome. I mean, if they'd have to take a right turn, and there's nothing that suggests to them to take a right turn, they're gonna walk right into the driveway. With it all being the same pavement, there should be something to.
You'll get to the driveway.
Maybe a grass up, some out of small
Yeah.
grass strip.
Something between the driveway and.
We're using grass quite well, we're kind of looking at that. With that too, they're gonna walk across there and they're gonna hit the grass, or they can come right down through the driveway. So it is really a challenge to figure out how to do that.
Also, I think that, Don mentioned that there's a sidewalk on the other side as well, so that.
Yeah, okay, well, if this is sidewalk on this side, that makes a little more
Here's
sense.
my look where the,
Oh.
If there's a sidewalk there, that's totally different. I'm assuming.
But if there was no sidewalk there, then, yeah, definitely, how would you stop them? Yeah. How would you stop them?
Is the visually impaired people, is they listen for traffic. They're gonna be listening for that traffic going by them. And that gives them a cue as well as the accessible warnings and whatnot. What they do when they stop at something like that is they listen. They don't just stop, they're listening for traffic. So they'll be listening for traffic going around them. So it's pretty interesting how people with visual impairment manage things and all their senses are going.
Are there any standards, like in ProAg or anything, for change in direction for people with visual impairments? Are there like pavers that are grouped in certain ways that signal someone to?
They use them in Europe a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah.
and they're like strips, not domes. And when not the complete street, but the shared use street, they've given some examples of those where you can, if everything's being used to try and give it's like a curb, like a long area, but we don't use them. MECCD doesn't allow them,
We have a shared.
They're really good design.
Yeah, that's interesting to see them, but, go back here. Yes, I don't think they're an MECCD, are they? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are, because there was talk about that when they're talking about these shared streetscapes. But that's a good question, man.
I think they put out an accessible shared streets guide.
That's it, that's the one that does have them.
That does have them?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's not in the MECCP, but I think that's what they requested, because you've got everybody using a very low speed, street, bikes, pedestrians, and vehicles. You need to have some delineator for people who can't see all that stuff. But, yeah.
We had a lengthy debate on a roundabout we built in Orono. We ended up putting RRFBs for the pedestrians to cross at the roundabout, which, it was, like I said, it was a long debate, but that's what we chose in the end, so.
I think they're working out.
Yeah?
Yeah, I drive through that roundabout multiple times a day. I don't seem to be bothered by stopping for anyone, so.
Oh, we also put raised crosswalks, so.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we'll move on. This is a project in Auburn, it's an MPI project. What jumped out at me was, well, obviously, we got the border issue. The other thing that jumped out at me, it seems like they were put in maybe after the fact. And it looks like the concrete may not be at the same level as the sidewalk itself. Could be a tripping hazard, it seems like they want to build it too high up. So you just want to be mindful of that as you do it.
Difficult for rolling over even, where the roadway slope comes down.
We've got separated landings up here. Obviously, it looks like there's some challenges with grade coming into this. That does not look like it's 2%. But this is a good example. I think Mark had mentioned some when we separate the landing. Pedestrian desire line might be best right down through here, but you can see, you're forcing the pedestrian to come around, and you start separating those. This case here, looks like we didn't have necessarily the TP, looks like we ramped up, maybe had a full height curve and a ramp down. And this was before the days of going as short as 3-inch curve. So there's opportunities to maybe get it a little tighter, but you do have utilities to deal with that location.
So I got a question for Teresa on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So the standard detail shows us that it's gonna be, the front of the detectable is gonna be 6 to 10 inches from the flow line. Now, like that one right there is only 4 inches, because you get the 4-inch border. So, is the front of that border supposed to be on the back side of the curbing? Now you're at about 10 inches? Or do you put a 6-inch border, 6 to 8 inch border of curb, of concrete on the front side to get that minimum of 6 inches back from the flow line? I have it right here if you want to see it.
And that's,
Marcel, you got that one?
That's a
And this is what we're
that's
down
608, 608?
So, yeah, so, and that, I mean, obviously 608, we haven't updated 608, but it needs to be, like we talked about, it needs to be on, the technical place on the gutter line, or if you have some flush curving there, right, let it get the flush curves.
So the concrete border does,
Yeah.
or
The concrete border,
so the concrete border is actually gonna be on gutter line?
yes. Or if there's
So
flush
now
curve
it's
there, it has to be
4
against the
inches
flush curve.
back, not 6.
Exactly. So the we didn't update the 6 to 8, but in that case, the 6 to 8 is wrong.
Okay.
Will the 608 be updated?
Yeah, is that gonna be updated?
Shortly,
Like
now
that?
that we got Marcel on it.
Because like, in
You
our
write that down, yes, sir.
I did it about 10 inches back because of the 6 to 10 inches, I started the border on the back side of the concrete, of the granite curving, because of that one detail right there.
I think, as long as it's going the full length and stopping them, you know, I just wanna make sure it's going the full length of the scope.
I mean, the width is fine, but the front of the textile is like 9 to 10 inches back because of the 6-inch curve and then 4 and 4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So just so I understand, this is okay, as per the new standards, this is preferred, you want the concrete edge to be right along the gutter.
And if the curve is there, then it should have.
Right, if you've got flush concrete, flush granite curve here, you start your concrete right on that side.
Good place, right?
Good
And
question.
with these, it's less likely to do that, but if you've got something like over there, people can walk through. This one, you're less likely, visually impaired person's less likely to walk through because they're edging.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about that.
No, but if you put it back too far, you can leave big pretty good sized openings, to the pavement.
Well, that's why,
Yeah.
you can put it back to that, but.
This is the same project in Auburn, I wanted to kind of illustrate curbing, so obviously the sidewalks being installed, we got curbing along the road, we got back curbing to minimize impacts to these trees. As you come around to your ramp and landing area, you'll notice the curb reveal gets much taller. So this is an idea, if you're doing bid-build jobs, where you don't have any plans and you know where the right of way is, you can't do any work behind the sidewalk. If you need to lower your grades to make them ADA compliant, installing back curbing is a good method to minimize or avoid any impact behind the sidewalk. So just kind of an example.
Was this your project, or is this something you found?
It's
This is your project?
Yeah.
I like that back stuff, that gives you options.
How tall can you go in that back?
Brandon, do you remember how tall we went on for back curbing on, Washington Ave?
12 inch reveal or less, might be a little bit more, but you gotta keep in mind the embedment ratio of it, so it doesn't overturn.
Yeah, was it like 2/3?
Yeah.
2/3 embedded, I think we're allowing almost up to like 18 inches.
We've installed some 18-inch reveal as well, but we've gone with a deeper curve. We've done a special revision and curve deeper. Yes.
Okay, you shut that concrete out to face the curb now. So you come through there with a inch and a quarter overlay. Now what are you gonna do with a curb that's now will be cement that's now an inch and a quarter low?
Mill before you overlay.
Okay, so every intersection that has a crosswalk, you're gonna mill.
I'm just saying, you've
Yeah,
taken that play out of it now.
So if you move it back a bit.
Yep.
But if you had it back the original 8 to 10 inches, you'd have had room for one overlay, which now you have no room. You have to mill every intersection out.
Marcel's making a note of it.
Yeah, I'm just,
You'll look into it.
all right, I'm all ears.
We need to get some clarification on getting on the backside of the curve, because you're right, like right here, if you've got that kind of, like in Portland, they have a lot of those granite, it would be behind that, so we might have some.
So if you're on a hill, that water will run down the hill, but a lot of intersections, you're not going down, that flat intersection.
All right, so we're up in Bangor, this Union Street Bridge, Steve Bodge's job. So this is a somewhat dated project. What jumped out at me on this guy here was how they treated the panels.
Yeah.
So I don't think we do that anymore. We have the panels all the way through the opening, even if it's shared. Panel color and type, that might change as well. And then we talked a little bit in yesterday's class about the pet button and questioned whether there were 2 there or not. See the shadows for 2. We have separated buttons, probably 10-foot separation. That way we don't need the actual sound of the audio telling you what street you're crossing. So.
Speaking of ped buttons, does anybody see anything else funky about ped buttons? Like behind the guardrail, on the opposite side?
Right here.
You see those, like, going off on there, out there.
So we talked about that 10-inch reach.
Guardrail's only 12 inches wide, you said I could reach 16. Close.
Yeah.
Don did say this was a dated project, almost 10 years old.
Yeah, there are a lot of those.
Look at all the good things that we did 10 years ago. So that's what we would do now.
We talked in yesterday's session about that specific case, about somehow extending the buttons closer towards the guardrail. Just so
It's a
easier.
design thing.
Yeah.
Just be aware that you should know. Because what happens in the winter is that just gets stalled. No plowed in.
When was that picture taken?
When was that picture taken? 2 years ago? Yes. Maybe 3? If it helps us, it was 8 years ago. All right, so we're back in Portland. This was actually a DOT highway project, signal replacement with ADA improvements, and you will find, depending on the municipality, you may have different sidewalk treatment. So in this case, it was brick, and so those have its own challenges. We mentioned trying to meet this ADA compliance with pavement. Grades that you gotta check the grades on the gravel before you start placing the pavement. The second the roller runs over it, whatever you're shooting for, it's probably not gonna be there, so it's challenging. With brick, the base on the brick is typically pavement too, so you got similar issues. The best way to do the ramps would be concrete, because then you can do the form work, you set the elevations exactly and precise as to how you want it. I may have mentioned earlier that the most recent project we're doing in Portland, we got 2 small projects. They've told us we want all the ramps to be concrete. So, other than that, I don't think I have a lot.
Is it also a case-by-case basis for the 4-inch border on that one? That one doesn't have 4-inch border concrete.
Right, yes, that's set right into the brick, and it's,
Right.
yeah.
Or is that just case-by-case, like whatever the town wants?
Well,
I mean, should this have a concrete border?
yeah, that should probably be more visible.
What's what we do?
Right. I don't know what, but you see those out in Portland, for years, they did not allow for concrete, everything was brick. But now they're looking at their system and saying with concrete, so you're gonna see those, whether or not that. We normally will use the 4-foot reveal, gives a visual, challenge for the.
Those cast iron plates, or those are concrete precast ones that they say?
I don't know.
I don't think these are cast iron. I think these might have been, it might have been a plastic one. These might have been plastic plates. So we're out in Stroudwater, and so we're in a historic area, so that tends to didn't allow certain color plates. You want the gray in the historic district. Their standards may have changed recently, but for some reason I'm thinking these are the plastic ones. Those are not great either, because the plows will snip the plows right off. But I do think some of them are bolt down, they can unbolt them and just replace the panel. So, but I think even Portland maybe going to
Yeah,
cast iron.
you really should have some sort of visual differentiation, and that, you know, that blends right in. For a person who's visually impaired, that would be very hard to see.
All the standards that Marcel comes up with. All right, so we're still in Portland, this is Cumberland Ave, this is on the peninsula. This was a sidewalk job, so part of the project was a curb extension here to reduce this crossing distance. We've got a curb extension here, a new sidewalk, brick sidewalk. So the real challenge, obviously, this was prior to the days of testing feasibility forms, but we would have been checking pretty much every block on the form. If you go to the next page, the next view, this is on the opposite side looking back. Look at that crosswalk, that crosswalk. It's pretty crazy, huh? That was, and so we, obviously, your crosswalks, that should be a 2% crosswalk as well. If you're building a brand new road, that's the goal. If you're reconstructing this, and this is a side road that you're not impacting, that's a discussion you can have with the department. But we flagged this to the city. This was a city project. We said, hey, oh, by the way, you're not maintaining a 2% crosswalk on your crosswalk, it's more like 10. We can provide you with a 2% crosswalk, but we will be rebuilding this road from here down to the next block.
Yep.
They said we're not interested. So, in this case here, we would be filling out a technical feasibility form, we just can't comply with that requirement. But these are some of the challenges you guys run into on projects. So, railroad, so this is a project in Portland Transportation Center, I believe it's right here, the Amtrak train station's right here, this is Thompson's Point. Multi-use path to Thompson's Point where they have the concerts now. So here is a detectable warning field for a railroad crossing. We've got a gate here, placed it in front of the gate, what we're showing here. We actually have some striping going across the crossing as well, and I've looked more recently to try to find guidance on it. I can't even find it, so I'm not sure where it's at. But
It's not a bad thing that provides some visual.
Pedestrian on the railroad tracks, is that required at all?
no,
What's the criteria for that?
I don't know. I can tell you we're doing a project in Brunswick right now. The roadway does not have gates. We're installing brand new sidewalks on the roadway. We've got the department to sign off on. We don't need to do pedestrian gates there. So,
It might be similar to our other policy that calls it a qualifying pedestrian area. Somebody planning would have to do a study of some sort to see if it qualifies or not, so, but they're not required at all.
we were nervous that they were gonna require gates. So definitely, if you're doing any pedestrian improvements across the railroad, you wanna talk to the department to find out if you need, and the railroad, if you're gonna need gates.
What do you have, Wayne?
We've got that whole section 130 program, for railway safety, and there's a guide associated with that program, that probably gives you some guidance about when pedestrian gates make sense. But I don't know off the top of my head. Brian Reach might.
One thing that the ProAct says you need to have a respectful one, but it doesn't really speak to the people.
This is an interesting example, now that you bring that up. I was gonna say, rule of thumb is if the roadway is gated, you wanna gate your sidewalk. This is not gated for the roadway. But we did gate the sidewalk.
No, those are sidewalks.
Those are sidewalk gates.
Oh, interesting.
So, it's a very interesting example. I thought have gates put in. So, it's a 3-lane section. It's a reversible center lane is how it was designed. So during concert events and coming in, they could have 2 lanes entering, and then on exit, they could have 2 lanes exiting. So I think they were concerned somehow how to gate a 3-lane with a reversible lane.
That's a multi-use path too, though, right?
This is a multi-use
So
path.
anything to do with bicycle side?
Yes. Yep. All right, we'll move on. Same project. This kind of jumped out at me, so there was some example questions about what can we do here. I actually thought this looked pretty nice.
Yeah, I don't have,
Teresa seems okay with that. So,
I don't like, I mean, that is much with a 4-inch around, but it's kind of,
Just kind of filled in this little gap so you didn't have a small bit of paper.
But see, that's the 6 to 10 inches instead of having that, like.
yeah, I know, we gotta look at that, I think we need to.
Well, I mean, so if you had like, if you put, instead of the straight across, you put like an arc radius there, right? Then you put that 6 to 10 inches back, you wouldn't want that, you want it to be a butting. But if you have putting a straight radius across, then, you see how in the corner, it's pretty much as close as you can get.
Right, it's like 2 inches.
But you can't, I mean, because you're using the squares, you just come straight across, so. That's something we definitely need to look into more though, for sure.
Good, thanks for bringing that up, though, because we really need to make those jive.
Same project, with the crosswalk here, maybe there's a little issue on this guy. This is pretty flat, bus stop here. The buttons, I think is the big one we wanted to flag, is the buttons are not necessarily aligned with the crosswalk. That should be flipped 90 degrees to be on the backside of that pole. So if you're standing here, you can hit the button and then the arrow will point you right across the crosswalk. So if you have questions on any of that, Teresa's probably the best person to reach out to.
The RFPs, we're now, putting the, it doesn't say okay to cross, it says proceed with caution.
Good.
It's not okay to cross, we're not, MaineDOT crossing, if there's, because there's no stopping of vehicles, so.
So finally, back to the plate sizes. Contractors tell you they come in 2x2s. Here's an example. The only reason I got this photo in here, that's the 2x2 plate. That looks like that's a 2x3 plate. That caught me off guard. So you can have the manufacturers at different sizes. They can look at the book. They have different sizes to go by. So they're standardized. They're not special orders. You get them on a radius, they certainly could be more special orders. This is up in Scarborough, Dunstan Corner. Doesn't really have a border, but sidewalk concrete. So, Teresa, this would be okay in your world?
Yeah, you're coming in. So. I mean, they probably, but. Yeah.
It'd be okay, except that it may not be needed if there's no crosswalk.
Good point.
So, I mean, if that's just a driveway, we don't know what that is, so.
Right, and a lot of times, and I think in Scarborough, there are some, this is just one you took a picture of, right? You didn't.
No, we did it.
Okay. I think that some of the developers are doing their own thing with some of this stuff when they're building.
You know which road that is? Is that a road or is that a road?
Ray, do you?
Dunstan Corner, that's on.
Do you know what this road is? Is it a driveway?
Not broken, fog line's not broken.
Yeah. I don't know, watch. I'd have to look at the other.
Yeah, that's a good point. The line's not broken.
Yeah. So it could be a driveway. So the rule of thumb for us, I'm putting these in, I know there's written rules, but if there's a crosswalk there, then more than likely we're doing the detectable one. And you do not need to do a crosswalk at a drive down, unless it's stop control or signal control. So, on the Kittery project, we had one property owner said, I really want a crosswalk across my driveway. I'm like, you don't have to. So I think we eventually gave it to them. So that's the rules on my follow, is do not provide crosswalks at driveways, therefore you do not do the detectable driveway. Unless it is stop control. There's a stop sign there, a business, and they've got a formal stop sign, you may need to do a crosswalk and it's detectable.
If the stop sign's about 60 years old, with a bullet in it, and it has been attached to it.
All of you going on.
Go ahead.
Might be a silly question, but why'd the flat work guys put a nice edge on the back, but not on the left side there?
Don't know. Nice edge here, not here, probably because up here they may not need it when it's up against the curb.
Yeah, I understand that you wouldn't need it there, it looks funny to me. I know that has nothing to do with your design.
Couple more.
I got a question. On inventory for these, was it cropping up all over the place or whatever? How are we gonna handle that? Is it because in the urban compact, even though it's capital work, we're responsible for capital work if we're going back in there. I mean, how's that gonna
Sometimes we
work
aren't
out?
even responsible for capital work when
Well.
they're doing their stuff. Yeah, we're working on that, working with town, but we're actually just talked this week, with Pete Conklin and, about giving them some direction on, when you're outside the urban compact, you get a permit but inside the permit, they do the permitting. So we don't often know when a lot of this work's being done. So it's a real challenge for us, so we're gonna try and talk with them about how we can better communicate that stuff, but yeah, it's a big deal.
All right, I have a couple more slides, and then I think Mark is gonna step up for a slide or two. So, last two, now we're out of state, Ocean City, Maryland. This I thought was an excellent example of how we do separated landings, kind of get everything in close proximity to each other. So obviously, everything is in concrete. You can see they put in the back curbing and minimize impact, beyond the right-of-way potentially. But the spacing between these two, I thought, was really close. Typically, our minimum is gonna be a 4 foot up, 4 foot down with a 3-inch reveal. So we're at 8 feet, probably even closer than that. And what they do is they just keep everything low. So everything is roadway grade, it's sloping 2%, so the drainage still gets caught in the gutter. But this is all low, your ramp up is on this side, your ramp up is, I would assume, is over on this side here. And then they provide a separator here, which is a little different. In Maine, we don't have flat surfaces like this. I mean, if you look here, there's the opposite corner. See how close those crossings are, your pedestrian desire lines, if you're walking here, they're pretty direct. Walking here, they're pretty direct, but you have separated landing, which is great. But, if anybody knows where Ocean City is, you're right along the coastline, all sand, all flat, so they can get away with it. So we have, unfortunately, different
This
challenges.
is a post, though.
Yeah.
Need a post for this gravel.
Yep, all these guys over here.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about catching water right in that whole corner of that curve, that house? Yeah. Yeah, right there.
Potentially, yeah. Yep, especially still bottom.
Yeah. So it depends if the whole thing's going that way, the whole thing's going this way.
Exactly.
So,
Well, it's the community time.
that's okay, we're out of that now. You got time? All right, hand it over to Brad then.
Is 15 seconds.
Well, that, concludes our presentation. We are gonna put the presentation on our website, so you'll be able to, reference all the references that we, talked about today. Again, I wanna thank you all for coming, and, have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Brett.